How do you know what to buy?
How do I know what to buy? Buy everything. No.
That's when you end up like a pile like this back here. Like, buy
Yeah,
everything.
exactly. Okay. So there's a lot that goes into how do I know what to buy? I mean, it's knowledge. It's been. I've been in the game. I've made the mistakes. I've made the wins. So it's just building the repertoire of what you like to sell, what is profitable for you, and what makes good money for you. That's kind of all that goes into it. I do a lot of vintage clothing, hats, shoes. I do a lot of retail arbitrage shoes. So I have picked up the brands over the years. What I should be picking up, what I should be looking at. So when I go into a store, I'm looking at jackets, I'm looking at shoes, I'm looking at hats, I'm doing the things that I like to sell, that I know the best and that I'm comfortable with. Now, will I go astray every once in a while and look something up like, hey, this is a cool, like, vintage cool, like, thing. This might be worth something because, we've all been there, seeing other people, what they're picking up and everything like that. So I will stray and pick certain items up. So I think it's all about just building a base knowledge of, what sells and what you like to sell and what has worked good for you. Okay? So that's kind of my answer.
Leroy.
What's up, guys? So listen, this is the way that I do it. I've been doing eBay for about 20 years on and off, but and selling at flea markets for a long time as well. There's not many tools that I haven't seen. So if I haven't seen it and I'm getting it for $2 or $3, I'm grabbing it. Like there's no thought about it in my eyes. The best thing I always tell people is, what have you bought for people that you spent a lot of money on that you see at a yard sale for a quarter of what you paid for that you can flip and make money on? What you've paid for certain things, kids' toys, clothing, hats, electronics. That's always a good start. Make sure you don't spend too much. You paid $300, you're not going to go spend, $80 on it. But if it's for $20, it's worth the gamble. And like we all said before, look it up. That will give you the knowledge on it. What I do is, if I've never seen it, I'm buying it, and then I'm going to look it up and learn. It might not be worth anything, but I got the knowledge out of it. So next time I'll know not to buy it. So that's usually what I use to make sure that I get the right stuff to be able to resell.
Tim.
I think the real question is, how do you know what not to buy? Now, listen, how do I know what to buy? I listen to the Reseller Information Network, man. I mean, like, that's how I know what to buy. I mean, no, seriously, on a very serious note, I mean, yeah, listen, how do I know what to buy? I use the tools and the information, and we literally dropped today. I think this is a perfect question for today's episode. I mean, Cernoch gave you a breakdown on how to comp, okay? Jimmy gave you a great breakdown on how to use Google Lens. Leroy just gave you, I'm sitting here, my eyes reading the screen as I seen some of those numbers on those tools that Leroy just gave us. And then, I talked about the back stamps and the hallmarks. These are all things that you can use to know what to buy. So sometimes you're going to have to, I talked about this before, and Eric knew I was going to bring it up. I talked about this before on the Trash to Cash podcast. Shout out to those guys. You got to use all your senses, okay? Maybe not the taste, okay? Maybe not the taste, but you can listen to use your ears, okay? Shake something around. Does it sound like it got a broken piece in it? Or flicking a glass. Does it sound like glass? Does it sound like crystal? Okay, smelling. If something smells old, it's probably old, you know, whether it's a old book or a T-shirt or a hat, you know, and then, you know, using your eyes, the more and more you touch and see these items, you can kind of tell what's new and what's old, you know, and I feel like I'm missing one too. Eyes, ears, nose, and then the tongue, right? So okay, so I almost hit on all the senses, but all that stuff is super important. And then using the tools at your hand. I mean, you got a phone. The phone tell you everything you need to know. So you know, use the Google Lens, use the comping tool on eBay. Pick up the items. You know, take a picture of the back stamp, and then Google Lens the back stamp, and then once you Google Lens the back stamp, you use the comps. So you just kind of figure it out. It's just about going through the process of learning. You know, you have to be a sponge for education. It's easy to go onto YouTube and be like, "Oh my God, this person is buying this and they sold it for $1 million." You know, it's a bolo and it's a bread and butter and this and that. Like, I mean, all that information is good, but eventually you're gonna have to rely on yourself. And I think that's something that's super important. You know, relying on your instinct and knowing that everything that you buy is not gonna be worth $1 million. You know what I'm saying? And then eventually you figure out what to buy by figuring out what not to buy.
Jimmy.
I agree with what everybody said, but another thing is take some risks. Take some risk. Buy something that, and when I say take a risk, you're not taking a big risk, but if you've come across something that's affordable, like I buy grab bags at the thrift store full of toys, and then I open up that bag and I research everything with my Google Lens, with eBay, and I can find out. And I paid $7 for the bag full of toys, and I'm able to research all these action figures. Another great example is at an estate sale one time, I bought an entire Walmart large box full of golf head covers. I had never sold a golf head cover ever. I bought that entire box for $20. And I learned a lot about golf head covers that day. Look out for Scotty Cameron golf head covers is the main thing I learned. But taking little risks like that, to me, it's a $20 risk. And at the end of the day, you're probably not going to lose money because there's going to be something in there that you can sell that should help you get your money back. You know, go around your house looking for toys or whatever and price those too. But take that little risk of $20 on over 50 golf head covers. Come on, guys. I mean, more than likely you're going to make your money back and you're going to learn a lot. And then now going forward, you know to look for Ping. You know to look for Odyssey, golf head. And now you know what clubs to look for because while you were looking up the head covers, you found these clubs selling for a lot of money. So taking those little risks and doing research on those items that you took those little risks on can pay off big time.
No doubt. I'll just tell you my tip, and this is honestly how, for me, I figured it out. I have 7 thrift stores, and so I was doing a little thrift run. Now I hardly shop thrift stores, just to be honest, but I looked up everything. Like, I just spent time in the thrift. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go through this. And you start putting it in your memory bank, like these guys are saying. And then, you know, eventually you figure it out. But like Jimmy says, I'm also, dude, I'm willing to dive in the deep end a little bit. So there's times that I've took a chance on bulk items, and you pay for an education, essentially. Like, you pay for an education. Like, you're praying and hoping that it could be good. Yeah, I generally too. The other thing is, if you see items, and it's been mentioned here, sort the comps. I always look for the highest first, because then, like, if I run up on a big pile of teapots, like, I mean, I know Tim, he's like doing this. First thing I do is like teapots, highest. Okay, now I know what I'm looking for. That's kind of what I'm. So like that's a deal too. But honestly, there's no shortcuts when it's learning what to buy, other than the tips and tricks that you've been shown. But ultimately, you're going to have to get an education. You're going to have to, like, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. I'll tell you, I hit more than I lose, right? Because I use the tips and tricks that we talk about, and I've been doing it for a little while. So now, honestly, I pick up weird without even confident. If it looks weird, if it looks different, if I've never seen it, I take a chance on it, because you never know. Because there is things, and we're probably going to do an episode on this later on, but these guys on this panel will tell you don't be afraid of it if there isn't a comp. If there isn't a comp, that could be a really good thing, because that means it ain't out there. Like, nobody's got it. And if it is different, it may be super valuable. So that's what I've learned about what to buy. Well, that wraps up this portion of the show. We do appreciate you guys for coming and hanging out with us. You can always find these guys via their YouTube channels that are out here in social media. Here at the Reselling Information Network, we also run one other show, Listing and Loafing, which is every Tuesday at 9:30 to somewhere around 2 o'clock. We're usually hanging in there. We're working, we're hanging out, we're listing, we're answering questions, trying to help out each other, doing a little show and tell, all kinds of other fun stuff. You can hear all the Timisms that come up during our conversation, and you never know what we'll be talking about in there. But come and check that out. Make sure you drop your questions in the comments down below. Hey, just leave us a comment. Hey, I like this. I anything. We're open. We love the feedback. So check us out. You guys got any closing comments?
And thank you guys for tuning in to the Reseller Information Network. Make sure you guys subscribe, hit the thumbs up, tell a friend to tell a friend about Har, Hi, Hen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. See you next week.
Later.